This just shows you what it looks like at surface. And you'll see on the right-hand side a chart showing some of these assays of drill holes. Now we have 700 drill holes in it, so this is about 25 holes. That isn't obviously reflective of the whole deposit. But I could show you probably 75 drill holes that go better than an ounce of gold per ton gold equivalent. Now when you look at this graph, you'll see the drill holes that are labeled, you'll see the intervals, in other words, how wide the intercept was. You'll see what the gold grade is in ounces per ton, not grams per ton, ounces per ton, and the silver grades. The photo is actually quite demonstrative. You can see in the background the drill there. This is a diamond drill, and you'll say, where is the vein? Well, in fact, the Escondida vein does not stick out of the ground. Had it stuck out of the ground, it would have been found 15 years before. It has some sulfides with it, some minor amounts of copper, lead, and zinc sulfides, and for that reason, it's a topographic low for the most part. And that gives us exploration challenges to follow this along strike. This is the map. It's showing some of these 25 veins. They are labeled generally after the female gender. Maybe that's what comes with having a lot of men on site for several years. You can see that the scale here, these squares are 2.5 kilometer squares. 2.5 kilometers, about 1.5 miles. And this is showing a fraction of the property. This is showing perhaps 15% of our total land holdings. But you can see in red the veins with these various names on them. In black you can see the drill holes, and the area where you can see Escondida, you can see the number of drill holes. There's so many in it. That's a big black smear. I'll show you that in more detail. Now, the ground to the left, so you can see the colored geology map, but when you look to the left, it's all white. Now that is the area that now forms the Foma Cruz joint venture with Exeter. That's where Exeter is earning an 80% interest by spending the first $10 million on the project, on that particular project. So the drilling now has moved across that boundary into that white area, and I'll refer to that again shortly. The slide I'm showing you now will be superseded at such time as we come up with another press release, because this came out of our last press release where we specifically referred to some of the activities that were current at the time. Now if you look carefully here, and we're looking at Escondida, you'll see the black drill holes, you'll see the red veins, and you will see some blue dots. These are the drill holes that are current. Some of these will be announced in our next press release, but you can see how many holes are going into this. Now, why are we drilling so many holes? We have an inferred resource. The one I referred to was not indicated, not measured. It was the lowest confidence determination on what we call the resource definition. To get the next highest, we needed to do more drilling. And so we have now put in over 200 drill holes to increase the confidence from inferred up to the indicated category. So you can see it's a work in progress as we continue to drill off the deposit. The zones to the right, to the top right, you can see these veins. For the most part, those zones do not form a significant part of the total resource, simply because we didn't have enough drill holes to date. Now we are drilling them in more detail, so they will come into the next resource. Now, the interesting part is on the left-hand side. The Escondida Foma Cruz extension is where we've moved across the boundary into the land that's the 80-20 joint venture. And you can see drill hole 687, 688, you can see MRC 600. These are holes that are beginning to unlock the potential of what we call the strike continuation of the vein. In other words, the vein continuing across the property boundary and moving off to the northwest. Now, interesting challenges out there because there's nothing to see at surface. It's covered by up to 50 meters or 170 feet of gravel. So we have to see our way through the gravel by geophysics and into the vein underneath. So it's more challenging, yet we've met that challenge by defining that trend now for approximately 1.6 kilometers, about a mile along trend. So you should expect going forward additional news releases relating to the drilling on that strike extension. You should also expect information and press releases relating to drilling outside of this area, because at present we have 3 drills on the property. Okay. So 2 different objectives. One is to find more gold. The other one is to add confidence to the known deposit by drilling this zone at 20 by 20 meter centers, at least for what we can see for the first 4 years of potential commercial development, production. The next slide here kind of shows you the landscape again. Now this couldn't be more different from Chile. We're only at an elevation here of 100 meters above sea level. You can see it is flat. It's, you could compare it to Australia. You could compare it to Nevada. This is why in this area mining makes a lot of sense. There's not a lot of value in the current use of this land. And you can see these white areas are some of the samples that are being collected or have been collected from these drill holes. Moving to the next slide. This is a longitudinal section, and for those of you who are really quite familiar with the industry, what we're doing here is trying to show, this is about as technical as you could get, by the way, on this. This is what we're trying to show you is, if you take the deposit, and Escondida is a vein which is like a sheet. If you took a sheet of paper and turned it up on end, you'd see that it's not that wide, but it goes quite deep. So now you've taken that sheet of paper and you're looking at it side on, okay? So it's like slicing an apple in half and looking at the interior of the apple, okay? In this case, it's a vein. So what we're showing you here is that there's a zone about 1,000 meters long. You can see the scale there, where we have considerable number of drill holes, the drill holes being shown in black. And each of those little squares is 80 meters by 80 meters. 80 meters being approximately 250 feet. So this is showing you in red where we have value in the drill holes of better than 30 grams per ton over a width of a meter. So it's a way of showing you the distribution of high grade and low grade. And all of these drill holes are the current holes going into it to raise our confidence from this deposit from inferred to indicated. The other part that's relevant is the fact that we are contemplating underground development, because it doesn't make economic sense to push an open pit down any further than you have to if you have payable ore underneath. Now, the big label on the left-hand side says Foma Cruz Joint Venture Drilling. Some of the drilling that's happening today is on that left-hand side. We've referred to in a previous press release about our optimism of finding additional ore off to the left. And you can look at it and say, well, why wouldn't you? Geologically, you'd say, well, if you find gold right up towards the boundary, why wouldn't you find it on the other side? Pretty good hunch that there would be.